The story begins on May 6th, 2024. A girl is on top of a building and mentions that this is test number 32. She doesn't have much to say since she knows she will succeed. One would think she was going to take her life, but no. Before touching the ground, she disappears out of nowhere and teleports to the beach. She walks out of the sea after feeling like she was drowning and walks to the shore to step on the sand. She checks her phone. She has just moved 50 kilometers away from the building she was at, surpassing her record. The test was a success, confirming that she can teleport instantly. She teleports to the bathtub in her house and turns on the shower to pretend she's taking a bath. Her mother hears the sound of water and asks her daughter, named Kangmin, when she arrived. Does she want to scare her? Kangmin apologizes. Her mother wants to know where she was hiding. She responds that she was a bit cold, so she went to the sea. Dinner is ready, and her mother reminds her that this weekend is her father's anniversary and asks her to greet her father's colleagues when she sees them. Kangmin already knows this and just hopes her mother doesn't cry. She still remembers what happened to her father, Kangmin's father's death. Upon hearing this, her mother wanted to kill her husband's murderer, but she had to control herself. Kangmin was watching all of this. This is just a mage's memory of the past. Now, for today's test, she teleports from building to building. The time it takes for her teleportation to cool down is between 1 and 2 seconds. The maximum number of consecutive movements is 24. After that, she can feel her stamina running out. There are 2 important tests. One is overlap, and the other is stacking. She shouldn't have tried it because she returns to the starting point, and then there's the pain, as if she had been punched in the face. It's better to be careful. The second is money. The question is, how much can she move at once? She can take up to 5 million, although she later returns the money to its place. Stupid greed never ends well. Of course, she could have used it for school and the academy so that she wouldn't have to worry about transportation for the rest of her life. But even if she wants that, it's too dangerous to use her powers on the way to school. It's a risk, but if she has powers, she can't use them at will. Suddenly, a luxury car almost hits the students. Kangmin tells us that there are some kids who never walk to school. Maybe the superpower is having incredibly rich parents. So, what's the point of her superpower? She can't use it to go to school without being seen since she'd get caught, and she can't rob a bank because she would get caught. For a moment, she thinks about stealing from criminal organizations. But after all, it makes sense to steal, or maybe a free trip. She gets up from her seat and heads to the warehouse behind the school. She closes the door so no one can see her, closes her eyes and concentrates, teleporting above the city. What she does know is that thanks to this ability, she can see that this world is more beautiful than she ever imagined. She returns to the warehouse. That was refreshing. Simply incredible. What is she supposed to do with this power? Suddenly, she hears some people outside the warehouse. Kangmin checks through the door to see a student named Changji. His face was being painted with lipstick. The person accusing him was Lua, the rich girl from the luxury car. Despite having this wonderful world, there's still trash like her. No one dares to say anything just because she's wealthy. Changi couldn't stand this bullying and starts crying. Lua thought that was enough to keep him out of the club. The guy next to them asks them to stop playing with things that don't make money. Right now, he's calculating cryptocurrencies on his phone. The other girl says she's just recording some memories. The blonde guy, on his part, wished to be made up by Lua. It seems Changi isn't entirely treated. Lua starts spraying him with water to remove the shine from his makeup, but she's simply enjoying doing this. Kangmin mentions that this group is complete trash, but doesn't want to get involved with them. She should use her teleportation to get out of there. It would be a problem if she gets involved with those crazy people. Suddenly, Lua calls her by her name and asks why she doesn't come out of her hiding place. Is she scared? She hates when people avoid her. Is she avoiding her? Kangmin thought about using her powers right then, but upon hearing Lua pressuring her, she gathers courage and steps out of the warehouse. Lua, in an annoyed tone, asks why she wasn't answering. Now she feels bad. Isn't she supposed to greet someone when she sees them? She doesn't know anything about manners, questioning why Kangmin looks at her like that. Kangmin just hoped to endure until the end. Lua asks why she acts like this. Doesn't she have a father? The girl with brown hair tells her that Kangmin's father was on the news. He was a policeman. Now Lua understands why she acts this way. Kangmin, with authority, asks Lua to stop. Lua doesn't like her tone of response and slaps her hard. Kangmin, or rather Mija to be brief, ends up collapsing Lua. Lua doesn't like anyone seeing her like that. Mija must know her place. Her friends ask her to stop. She's just wasting her time with her. The brown-haired girl keeps recording. Kangmin couldn't take it anymore. Suddenly, Lua throws some bills at her to make her feel more pathetic, telling her to use it to buy new glasses and that it would be better for her to buy nicer clothes since she looks like a beggar. Lua's friends laugh at Kangmin for how pathetic she is. Lua will be waiting for them both after class. The blonde guy mentions that my daughter's father is dead as he was stabbed to death, according to what they tell us. He had gotten into a fight with a drunk gangster at a bar. What he was trying to do was stop the fight. My daughter can't stand remembering this. She mentions that it would be stupid to get stabbed by a drunk, but suddenly she is teleported with Lua near the sea. She screams, scared, asking, "What is this?" She asks my daughter what is happening. My daughter responds that she had already told her before. From the beginning, she had asked her to stop, and now she would pay the consequences. She teleports, leaving Lua behind, abandoned in the middle of the sea to drown. One of Lua's friends turns around. Mija returns to the original location. The good thing is that no one noticed. The guy starts wondering where Lua is. Does he want to know where she went? Mija can't believe what she just did. Meanwhile, Lua, panicking, asks to be saved. My daughter, for some strange reason, feels satisfied with what she did. Since Lua didn't know how to swim, she ends up drowning in the sea, and no one will know her whereabouts. Before continuing with the story, we see a memory of my daughter. Her father asks her what she has done. With tears in her eyes, she tells her father that her dog, named Dory, killed her rabbit, and that's why she did what she did. After Dory killed her rabbit, she acted as if nothing had happened, still happy. That's why she simply punished the dog, and she was doing the same thing with Lua. She was punishing her for being a bad person. She deserved to die. We return to the school. My daughter, having returned to the warehouse, asks herself what she has just done. She left Lua in the middle of the sea. Did she kill her? Lua's friends start searching for her. They ask both losers if they've seen her. Didn't anyone see what happened? If no one saw that she teleported, then she can avoid suspicion. Or is that what she already thought? Changi was nearby. Did he see it? She doesn't know. What should she do? Suddenly, the Ruby, being angry, asks Changi if he knows where Lua is. With great strength, he sends him flying into the trash can. The other boy asks his friend, named Gang Wo, to stop, but he couldn't stand being ignored. I want to know where Lua is. Is she going to get mad just because she left? If she keeps causing trouble, the school will end up on the news. Yungo tells Changi to talk. He grabs him by the neck to make him confess. At this rate, Changi will die. My daughter has to save him, but if she uses her powers, they will notice. Should she leave them all in the frame, Malua? That would be fine anyway. They're just trash. Suddenly, a teacher appears and asks them to stop. What are you supposed to be doing inside the school? He scolds Kongya and Connie. Kongi tells the teacher that it's nothing. They were just helping Changi get up. My daughter feels relieved. If the teacher is here, then she can end this now. The teacher asks them to stop making a fuss. Changi's face is bleeding. He can't let that slide. For some reason, the boys are calm as if they don't care. Connie, in a calm voice, tells the teacher they haven't done anything wrong, so why is he making such a big deal out of it? My daughter is surprised to see that the teacher doesn't respond to this. Now that Connie has encountered the teacher, when is he supposed to return the 50 million won? Is he stupid? No wonder he lost all his investments. My daughter tells us she had heard rumors that the class teacher got deeply involved in cryptocurrencies and lost everything. It turns out that not only did he bet his own soul, but if he doesn't have the money, he'd better disappear. But putting that aside, the teacher asks where Lua is. My daughter is aware of what happened, but prefers to remain silent. She said she couldn't get in touch with Lua, so she came to look for these boys since they are always with her. Connie grabs the teacher by the shoulder. If that's what he came to say, he should have said it earlier. They don't know where Lua is either, which is why they are looking for her. To make it easier, he asks the teacher to help them find her. If he does, maybe he can reduce his debt a little. He wants him to keep that in mind. He better stay alive. The girl with brown hair asks what he plans to do. For now, they should keep in mind that they never saw Lua today. That way, they'll avoid being questioned. She didn't disappear while she was with them, but now what will they do with these losers? If they start talking, they'll get into trouble. Connie asks Changi to listen carefully. From now on, he has to find Lua and report it to him. He'll need to keep his mouth shut, or else he'll be looking for him himself. He wants him to be clear on that. Miha can't help but feel sorry for Changi. Miha will also have to help Changi. If she leaves him alone, she'll be dead meat too. Meanwhile, the three of them will take care of other matters. My daughter knows exactly where Lua is. She was thrown into the sea because of her. Maybe she's dead. What is she supposed to do right now? She killed someone. And it seems there's also a witness who saw what she did. What decision should she make now? On the other hand, in the Philippines, a man, in tears, asks his attacker why he is doing this. Is it for money? Maybe for the 10 billion he owes. He asks the man to forgive him. The guy with an axe in his hand tells him that the money has already been paid, so he should go ahead and kill him. The man with glasses tells him he will pay double what he received. He just asks him to listen and wait, but the man with the scar doesn't have time for talk. The job is done. Today, he'll have to leave early. It's nothing important. Today is his daughter's birthday. Even though he doesn't want to, he has no choice. But still, it's his daughter's birthday. He'll leave the rest to his colleague. He checks his phone, sighs, nervous and tired, and calls his daughter. Lua's phone starts ringing but doesn't answer. The call will go to voicemail, because she's already dead. Her father understands why his daughter isn't answering. Maybe she doesn't feel like talking to him. It's complicated to be a parent, but when is he supposed to be okay with facing her? Sadly, that will never happen again. It's been 2 days since Lua disappeared. The whole country should be in an uproar over the disappearance of the granddaughter of the biggest conglomerate in Korea, but nothing happened. Everything was calm, as if nothing had ever happened. But why is the girl with brown hair worried? No one knows where Lua is. They need to continue calling everyone who knows her. If they can't find Lua, they're dead. Kan writes to his boss to ask for time to search for Lua. Things are getting complicated. Suddenly, Gong Wo appears. Kan asks him if he's found Lua. He responds that he couldn't find her. He beat up everyone he could, but no one knows anything, and his brother keeps calling him. He wants Kanji to come right now, or else he'll kill him. This terrifies him. Will Gong Wo let him go? They're both in the same boat, but Gong Wo doesn't think the same. He was with them just because he liked Lua. But now that Lua is missing, why should he help them? Yura asks him if he's really backing out after all the memories they shared. But what kind of memories is he talking about? Yura has information about everything he did to those girls at the club and how he poured white powder into their drinks. It must have been fun. Too bad they didn't find out. Is he blackmailing him? Cell asks both of them to calm down. This isn't blackmail. It's just a friendly reminder. That's why they need each other as friends. Right now, they need to focus on finding Lua. He knows Gong Wo wants to see Lua again, even though it annoys him. He knows it's true. But why isn't that bastard Changi showing up? My daughter feels like someone is watching her. She's never cared about who's behind her. But why does it have to be Changi? If Changi really saw what she did, what should she do? Lua is the heir to the El Hai group, the heir of a world-class conglomerate. She's disappeared. They'll do whatever it takes to find her. If Changi speaks and the group finds out that she was involved, there's no way she'll get out of this unharmed. She has no choice. She calls Changi and asks if he wants to go to an internet cafe. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, Lua's father's colleague calls him. The issue from yesterday has been resolved. It has been officially declared that the target was killed by a rival gang. Mr. James feels grateful, but notices that he's not even paying attention to him. Something's wrong. His daughter, Lua, hasn't updated her Instagram these days. That's strange. There should be a birthday party post. His colleague tells him to wait for his daughter. It's too much. It's no wonder why Lua's father hates him. However, Lua's father doesn't think the same way. He considers this normal. as he's just a worried father. Yesterday, his phone suddenly shut off. His colleague was about to respond to what he said, but at one point, Lua's father tells him to turn left at the next intersection. A car is following them. They don't seem like part of a gang. They need to figure out who they are. He steps on the gas. The car swerves left, and the target enters an alley. The man with black glasses orders his colleagues to block the alley to corner him. A car pulls up to block their way. Another car appears behind them. But there's something they didn't expect. The target just left the car. They need to start surrounding the area without him noticing. Lua's father hits him from above. Another would attack him from behind, but he easily grabs his arm and applies a hold. The other man is pointed at with a gun from behind by Lua's father's colleague. He hits the head of their boss. He realizes that the man is Korean and Filipino. "Do you want to know who the hell they are?" The boss asks Mr. Liso to stop. They were sent by the president to take her with them. Liso, upon hearing this, mentions that the president is his mother-in-law. They came here because they had to inform him that Miss Lua has disappeared in the news. Lua's grandmother, or the president, talks about reducing all underperforming subsidiaries, but Lua is not mentioned anywhere in the news. Are they trying to hide this? How can she be calm after hearing that her granddaughter is missing? Changi, who's by her side, tells Minja that Kanji's team asked them to find Lua. Has she found her already? Minja calls him an idiot. It's impossible for just the two of them to find her. Changi was only worried because of his fault. Minja was also involved, but she doesn't care. She's not afraid of those pieces of trash. If she's asking this, it's because maybe Changi saw her using his power. But then again, maybe that's not possible, as he was right behind her. But what should she do if he really saw it? For a moment, she thinks about throwing him into the sea as well, but then questions herself. Changi didn't do anything wrong. She tells herself she's not a murderer, but even though she thinks that, she killed Lua and almost killed her friends. There can't be any more murders. She tells Changi to stay with her from now on. A guy like him can get assaulted. She has to keep an eye on him for now. She can't let him reveal the truth. If in any case he saw her using her power, Changi tells her that there's nothing good about being near him. Minja tells him there's nothing to worry about. She will take care of things. It's then that Changi says goodbye. Why did he leave so dramatically? He knows that this is the best option. He's the only one who has to deal with this problem. A breaking news report appears. A stabbing incident just occurred in front of the internet cafe. Where is my daughter? He knows that Changi is in danger. The man causing the trouble starts stabbing everyone in his path. Every innocent citizen is hurt. Changi witnesses this scenario and helps a woman up. The man with the knife realizes that Changi is helping her and is about to stab him too. But before this happens, Minja teleports above them. She's about to crush the man with the knife, but we need to go back a few minutes to understand why she made this decision. She climbed up on a ledge to observe from a distance. She notices that Changi is involved. She sees that he stays to help the citizen and doesn't understand why he isn't running away. But now that she thinks about it, if things keep going this way, if Changi dies, it would be beneficial for her. We return to the same scene from before. She hesitates for a moment and remembers something Lua said earlier. It would be pathetic to lose your life being stabbed by a drunk. My daughter doesn't want to witness something like this for the second time, and she teleports, crushing the man's back. The confused citizens wonder where that girl came from. The man asks her to let go of him. She arrived just in time, but now what should she do? Changi tells her to be careful. The man swings his arm back to cut her face, but within seconds, both of them disappear, leaving the crowd confused. They both teleport upwards into the air. She only goes up without thinking. She needs to get to a place with no people. The man, moving aggressively, cuts her hand, making her palm bleed. She pushes him away when she sees the knife in his hand. It reminds her of the same man who killed her father, where he died miserably by the hands of just some drunk. My daughter. I wasn't going to help the man. I was going to let him die. Trash like him doesn't deserve to keep living. This is a punishment for him to pay for his sins. For my daughter, doing this is the right thing. The man hits his head and crashes to the ground. The crowd is terrified. How is it possible that guy fell from above? The police arrive at the scene. My daughter teleports onto a car. She starts to breathe heavily, exhausted from the situation. She did it again. She just killed someone and has blood on her hand. For my daughter, this can't be possible. She killed someone again, but instead of feeling regretful, she feels satisfied with what she did. The news reports a breaking story. A random stabbing occurred in front of an internet cafe. 4 people were injured, and the suspect who caused it died at the scene. Many know how his death occurred. Someone in a coat appeared and fell onto the suspect. Not only that, the one who took him away fell from the sky out of nowhere. Someone even recorded it on their phone. Video footage was obtained, and it clearly shows how my daughter appeared and took the suspect away. After that, the attacker fell from the sky. Witnesses are being interrogated to gather more information. On the other hand, a man who was watching the news says, "The days have become strange." A killer falls from the sky, and the granddaughter of the ILJ group disappears mysteriously. And that granddaughter is in charge of the money now. All of her cryptocurrencies are blocked at 98%. Rumors of liquidation are spreading everywhere, and I know exactly who made those rumors worse. He explains to Kanji why he invested in kids like him, maybe because of his brother Kongwo. The answer is no, he didn't do it because of the granddaughter of the ILJ group, the first successor. He invested because he trusted Lua. He really thought this time Kanji would run a legitimate business. One of the bodyguards grabs Kanji by the arm, and another grabs Yura by the neck. Kanji asks them to wait a second, but the man won't let him escape so easily. He tells President Wong that he can get his money back. The bodyguard places a golf ball in Kanji's ear. This is his punishment. He hits the ball, hurting Kanji's ear in the process. This is quite shocking, even for Kanieji. 5 billion W slipped from his hands. How the hell do you think you're going to get that back? Hang tells him that Lua manages many businesses and he's still running them. There are businesses that President Wang doesn't know about. If managed well, they could recover all the money in no time. This catches his attention, and he decides to listen. Back with my daughter, we realize it's raining. This is bad. She left her purse inside the internet cafe and can't teleport because she doesn't know the place. Changi calls her and asks if this is her purse. My daughter, somewhat careless, grabs it. She had picked it up before closing, so she didn't have to go that far. He's still the same guy running errands, even with her. They both fall silent for a moment. She apologizes for saying that, but Changi doesn't mind. But how did he do it? It seems Changi had seen her using her power. On the other hand, at the beach, while some children were playing in the sand, one of them noticed a floating body. Lua had returned to land, but lifeless. But back at the crime scene, Changi asks my daughter how she did that. She pretends not to understand what he's saying and responds that she doesn't know what he's talking about. She wants to leave, but Changi doesn't stop following her because he's following her. Changi wanted to ask her if her hand was okay, knowing that she hurt it earlier when she tried to catch the killer. It was her who did it, wasn't it? Just like with Lua. So in the end, she did see it. What will she do now? If she starts talking about it, she will get into trouble. But what person would believe that she already has the ability to teleport in the first place? However, even if she lets it go, now that she thinks about it, that knife contains her blood. The police must have taken it as evidence, and the only person who can connect her to it would be Changi. He's the only one who could expose her. She asks Changi what he plans to do about it. After knowing the truth, she admits it herself. She killed Lua and the guy with the knife, just because they were trash for this world. They didn't deserve to keep living. But more importantly, she doesn't realize how stupid it is. She's standing right in front of a killer who has already killed 2 people. Maybe inside she's screaming, knowing the truth. She grabs his arm, and for a moment, she thought of teleporting to the sea, to the beach, to make him disappear. It seemed like that was going to happen. But after reflecting a bit, Minja ends up laughing hysterically. That's quite hilarious. She would never kill him. She can't kill him. If she were really a killer, Changi would already be dead. Minja starts running in the rain. That was close. She almost killed him. Changi thanks her, thanking her for saving him more than once, both from Lua and that killer. She never thought that doing this would make the other person thank her. She only did it because she considered those guys trash for society. She tells Changi that this never happened. She never had the intention to save him. My daughter is confused. She doesn't understand what the hell this feeling is. On the other hand, we see Kanji and Yura inside a karaoke. For a moment, Kanji thought his ear was going to fall off, but leaving that topic aside, how did they get the 5 billion? They were only given 1 week. If even a single penny is missing, they'll take every last drop of his blood and sell him. It was Lua who convinced him to invest in cryptocurrencies, but now she's disappeared with the wallet. So why does he have to be responsible for all of this? Not even Go convinced his brother to give him some time. He directly asks Yura if he didn't blackmail him to help them. Or is that the reason they beat him up? He's tired of all this. Being in the same boat is useless. Go asks him to calm down. His brother asked him to keep them under control, especially Kanye. He just needs to give them the 5 billion so his brother can get richer. All this trouble started because Lua disappeared. If they find Lua, they can fix this. Also, Go wants to see Lua again. But when is she supposed to come back? She's always been a spoiled girl, but this time she's gone too far. If she's not dead, then she'll come back. But she can't afford to wait. Kanji asks Unbok to call all the guys under his control to check every club and bar. With Gong Wo's personality, Lua will appear sooner or later. It's then that Gong Wo begins the search. He was supposed to be watching them, but he ended up being an idiot. As for Yura, she will call all the girls from her album. They'll have to sell all the white flour that Lua kept stored. The news keeps talking about the incident that happened earlier. That crazy guy with the knife caused a pool of blood all over the area, hurting every civilian. But now everyone's talking about the unknown figure who stopped him. That person who stopped him was wearing a hoodie. If it weren't for that person, 3 more people would have died. It was exactly the time when students were leaving school. It could have been a total disaster. Another citizen mentions that, honestly, that guy with the knife didn't deserve to keep living. My daughter knows that this isn't a robbery or any other crime. She understands now. She's just eliminating what she considers bad. The authorities are still investigating this unknown individual. But without the proper clues, the investigation is getting complicated. Lee Su's colleague tells him that they've finally arrived in Korea and it's a mess. Does this make any sense? Lee Su, somewhat worried, responds that yes. Now they're in one of the Yai Group buildings. Lua's father was waiting for the president, the grandmother of Lua, or rather, Lee So's mother-in-law. She was crying, but before continuing, we see a small flashback from Lua's father's past. He was panting and somewhat hurt after arriving at the hospital in Korea. He had come for the birth of his daughter, but unfortunately, his wife had passed away. Lua's grandmother mentions that a man has his duties to fight, hunt, and protect his territory for his partner and his descendants. It doesn't matter if it's for the country or anything else. Nothing comes before a man's primary duty. When he made a commitment to his daughter, at least he expected him to fulfill his role as a man. She took note of the baby girl in her arms. She wanted to hug her daughter, but the president asked her to stop. This girl will be called Lua, the granddaughter of her daughter who gave birth to her, and also the heir of the Lai Group, a girl who has nothing to do with trash like her father. Where was he supposed to be when his daughter needed him the most? Where was he when his daughter was born? He's simply the lowest kind of scum. Lua's father cannot tolerate the rage inside him. 16 years have passed since then, since they saw each other for the first and last time. He never expected to see his daughter like this again. Lua's lifeless body was in love. Her father was never present when she was born, when she first went to school, and even at her final moment, her father was never there. The president tells him that she didn't call him to act as Lua's father. As far as she knows, So-hyun is the best assassin in the world, and she asks him to find whoever did this to Lua and bring her their head. So-yoon wants to make something clear. He is not her employee. What he's going to do now is try to be a father for the first time. Lua has been missing for 5 days. Some noticed that Lua hadn't been coming to school lately. Maybe she went abroad to study. Even the boys who used to hang out with her stopped coming. In any case, it's better not to see her at school. Some hope she'll drop dead somewhere. My daughter, upon hearing all this, feels happy. She has killed 2 people, a crime that can never be forgiven. But all the students are happy. Someone suddenly calls her. And that voice sounds familiar. It's Changi. And here too is another person whose face lights up. It must be because Lua is gone. Now there's a smile on their face, dramatically joyful. It seems like they were right to have killed Lua. She tells Changi to stop acting like they know each other. She asks, "Why? Didn't you call him a murderer? Or are you not scared?" Changi tells her that he never said that. Yesterday he just thanked her and wanted to return the favor for helping him. She asks if he's going to give her a magic seed. Changi tells her it doesn't have to be anything big, he just wants to help. Then he asks her to bring him a can of coffee. He barely slept last night, and he has a headache. Changi asks if that's all she wants. Minja tells him that if he doesn't want to, he can leave. However, Changi gets excited and tells her that he'll go buy it right now. Minja tells him to wait a second. It seems like being the errand boy suits him. Changi buys a can of coffee from the vending machine. He's happy to bring it to her, but on his way he runs into Kanji and W. It's been a while since he saw him. He notices the can of coffee and asks if he bought it for him. Changi, out of fear, says yes. He then asks if he has looked for Lua. Changi says he has no idea where to even start, so he hasn't even tried. They'll talk for a second on the rooftop. With Go, he's thrown hard against the rooftop windows. Kan asks why he likes to live like that. At least he should pretend he's looking for her. Minja was also supposed to help him. Changi asks them to search for Lua themselves. Kanji thinks maybe he heard wrong, and Changi repeats that they should go search on their own. Kanji cannot tolerate this, and W ends up kicking him in the stomach because it makes things more difficult. If anyone looks for Lua, they will stay with them forever. Changi knows that without Lua, the two of them are nothing. Kanji was going to let it slide for receiving the coffee, but he will no longer be merciful. He asks Unbok to strip him, and that's what he does. He takes off all of his clothes, leaving him in his underwear. Kanji receives a call from Yura and asks how things went. She tells him that she found a warehouse using the number Lua left, but she doesn't know if the white flower is inside the place. She can't hear him well because of the noise. Kan asks her to wait a moment and asks if she has found Lua. Kan replies that no, he is currently on a call with Yura. If necessary, it would be better to record Changi while beating him. Kanji, for his part, will step out for a moment to give Yura instructions. Changi asks Unwak to stop, but he simply grabs him by the shirt and tells him that he doesn't like doing this kind of thing. However, he has no choice. He punches him in the stomach. Hitting people is much more fun. He has disappeared, and his brother is bothering him. He has the desire to kill everyone. Suddenly, my daughter appears and asks him to stop. She arrived at the perfect moment. Hiding only made Changi suffer. Did she come here to get beaten up? Or did she really find Lua? If she didn't, then she will die at his hands. She has a face free of worries. How many people must she have trampled on to live like this? Gong takes her by the head and asks if she is listening. My daughter tells him that he needs to be punished. At first, this amuses him, but all of a sudden, my daughter teleports him to a construction site. From now on, she will give him a punishment like he has never received before. She drops Gong, and Mihai teleports. The impact of the fall causes one of his legs to break. That's quite an exaggerated reaction. W curses, asking where the hell she has taken him. She tells him that this could be called the Tower of Repentance. He asks how she did that. Mihai doesn't answer the question and tells him that this abandoned construction building is perfect for making him reflect on his sins. What sin is she referring to? My daughter approaches the broken part of Gong's leg and crushes it. She is giving him a chance right now. He should repent for his sins and promise to live peacefully for the rest of his life. And she will let him live. He curses her, saying she is just talking nonsense. But before he could touch her, he is teleported and falls headfirst. My daughter cannot understand people like him. Why do they live so recklessly? Doesn't a yes exist in their damn brains? W asks if she is crazy. Doesn't she know who her older brother is? My daughter knows that he will never change with just words. She grabs him by the shirt and calls him a foolish, evil person. He is simply another piece of trash. After so much crashing, Gong W is left half dead and asks her how it is now. Has he finally come to his senses? Gong W tells her he's sorry, that he's been wrong all this time. Now is the time to make a fresh start. The apologies shouldn't be for her, but for Changi. He will do whatever she tells him. It seems he still doesn't understand. Suddenly, Gong W picks up a rock to hit her in the head, but she teleports. It seems like he's hopeless. He deserves to die. Returning to Kanji, he tells Yura that they must turn the white flower into money. It doesn't matter if they don't have Lua's permission. They must put their lives first. He hangs up the call. He was going to call Yong Wo, but sees that he's nowhere to be found now. Where has he gone? He steps on Changi's head and asks him to wake up. He asks where Kong Wo went, but it wasn't necessary to ask since he suddenly appears falling from the sky. Blood spreads everywhere. Both of them are stunned to see Kong Wo's body. The one most frightened here is Changi. Kong Wo is dead. Changi, after analyzing a little, assumes it may have been my daughter and he's not wrong. She, being up above, sends her greetings. This part disturbs him, and he disappears with teleportation. Meanwhile, Sound is heading to his daughter's school to look for Lua's friends and interrogate them. He knows that those three can't be responsible for Lua being found 50 kilometers away from the school. It's crazy. There's no way a group of high school students could do that. He, being Lua's father, doesn't know his daughter very well, but those three know more about her. He just needs to make them answer every single detail to find out the reason for Lua's death. Sojin's colleague is surprised. Now he's trying to act like a good father. He knows this is wrong, but it's just brilliant. This is his chance to fill the cracks in that old man's wounded heart, and he will make sure to fill it completely. I forgot to mention that the name of this blonde is Harry. She knows So-yoon will get it. For a moment, she stops. There's police at the school and an ambulance, too. She asks one of the students who was leaving what happened at the school. The student she's interrogating is my daughter. She tells her that there was an accident. Someone fell and died. The encounter between them doesn't seem to be just a coincidence. They both stare at each other for a moment, and then my daughter leaves after giving her response. Harry asks, "So-yoon, what's going on?" And he responds that it's nothing. Just that the girl over there reminded him a little of Lua. Now, we're in the principal's office. Harry introduces herself as the secretary of the group. The president gave her some instructions to confirm some things. He also requested a meeting with Lua's teacher. The principal introduces Lua's teacher, who tells Harry that his name is JNH, Lua's teacher. But there's something that intrigues him. Who is the person behind her looking out the window? She doesn't have to tell him. The teacher gets scared and understands. She heard that a student died today here at this school and asks if by any chance it's related to these three. Both the teacher and the principal are startled and tell her that W was found dead on the rooftop. Soji notices that Lua's teacher seems nervous and approaches him to ask something. He said he was Lua's teacher. Does he want her to tell him the details of Lua's school life? He'll have to tell her everything in detail. Meanwhile, Yura tries to contact Kanji, but he doesn't answer. She's scared of having to handle these things alone. Suddenly, Kanji, covered in blood, enters the warehouse. Yura asks him what happened, why he didn't answer the phone, and where Keiwo is. Kanji tells her that Keiwo is dead. Yura asks how it happened, and Kanji doesn't know. He simply fell from the sky, dead. Yura doesn't understand what he's saying. Kanji also doesn't understand. None of this makes sense to him. He lost all his coins, and now his brother is dead. His boss, Yunong, won't let him go so easily, even if he gives everything here. His brother won't come back. They must pack up all the goods and leave. She asks if they're taking all the flour. She already warned Gonong's group that they were here. Kanji, with a serious voice, tells her to do as he orders, unless she wants to die. His phone is ringing. Kanji pulls out the suitcase where he was keeping all the flour, but suddenly, someone appears at his hideout. He can't believe that some simple students have a rental warehouse in this place. Kanji asks how she found this place. Yura apologizes. They told her that she didn't have to pay her debt if she told them the hideout. She curses her. But in that brief moment, her head is slammed to the floor by a blow from Song. How dare she hit a woman? Was she trying to scam him? He told her he'd return the money and waited for so long. Kanji tells her he was about to pay her. Yeon Seong felt that the men from Kong had found the goods. These students are pretty crazy. They might have more than 5 billion W. A high school student carrying flour worth 5 billion W. Suddenly, Gon Seong receives a call from a detective working with him. He's informed that Go suffered an accident. Kanji is scared and Seong hangs up the call. He needs to go to the hospital right now, back up the goods, and lock up these two guys. Yura asks him to wait a minute. She doesn't know anything. She just found out that Ji-Wo is dead. Gon asks her how she knows that Ji-Wo is dead. Kanji asks her not to open her mouth. Yura becomes nervous and confesses that she only knows because Kanji told her. Gon Seong strikes her to the ground again, lifts her head, and asks if she killed him. Is that why she was trying to escape? Kanji tells him that he never tried to do that. Gon Seong demands that she answer correctly unless she wants to die. Kanji asks to know who killed him. Gon Seong asks who, and meanwhile, at Shangi's house, he is washing his face. His grandmother asks if he's home, and he answers that he is. His grandmother heard that someone at his school has died and asks if Shangi is okay. She wants to know if nothing happened to him. In order not to worry his grandmother, Shangi says he's fine, but what he doesn't know is that my daughter was watching him from the roof of a house across the street. We get a brief flashback of Lua's grandmother. The president's driver tells her they will soon arrive at Lua's school, but this would mean delaying lunch with the other economic leaders. The president doesn't mind making them wait. We learn that the president's name is Lahoon. She hadn't accompanied her lovely granddaughter to school for a long time. Lua, on her part, turns her gaze away as she's upset. The car almost hits some students. Lua's grandmother asks if she's still angry, and Lua replies that she doesn't know. It's just that suddenly, her grandmother says she will close the deal she was making with her friends, and that's why she feels this way. When her grandmother hears about the deal Lua mentions, she doesn't believe that playing with cryptocurrencies and hanging out with mentally unstable people is a business. Lua responds that's why it's fun. When you put a little money in front of her friends, their eyes shine, and they follow her like puppies. Her grandmother tells her that's why Lua needs to learn more. There are too many things in this world that cannot be moved by money or profit alone. Some things far exceed all of that, just like her mother. Sometimes the grandmother sees her mother's eyes in Lua, the night her mother left, when neither love nor logic worked. She had that dark look in her eyes. Lua, unknowingly, hugs her grandmother and says that she's already having fun thanks to her. But she's different from her mom. She will never betray her. The president, lost in her memories, opens her eyes. Her driver tells her they've arrived, and Sojun confronts her and asks if she knew about Lua's life at school. The president tells her that Lua is her only granddaughter and that she can't abandon her, despite everything Lua has done. Sojun tells her that these weren't things a normal high school student would do. How the hell did Lua live her whole life? The president says nothing happened, which enrages Sojun, as she hears how Lua's grandmother doesn't even care about the direction of her life. Lua had perfect control over everything. At just 17 years old, she was a girl with the talent to reign above all. Sojun was about to grab her by the neck, just like he had been trying to do to his daughter. The president tells him that Lua is her granddaughter, and it's important to note that for Sojun, Lua is not his daughter. Although this infuriates him, he knows she is right. Sojun was never there for his daughter and cannot consider himself a father to Lua. He holds back his urge to finish off the president and lowers his head, not knowing how to respond. The president will provide everything Sojun needs, so she asks him to go and do his job. He must find out who killed Lua. Meanwhile, Chan tells his grandmother he's going to school. His grandmother asks if he is really okay, since she sees him wearing a mask. Changi tells her that everything is fine, and that it's better for her to go inside and rest because tonight she'll have to work too. He says goodbye to his grandmother and tells her he's leaving. His grandmother asks him to be honest, but Changi repeats that he's really fine. He leaves his house, looking a bit exhausted. It seems the wounds left by Gugo won't heal easily. Suddenly, my daughter appears behind him and asks where he got hurt. Changi is surprised and she asks why he's acting that way. Did he do something wrong? Changi asks how she got here, and she says she used her power, just like yesterday when she took Changi home. With this ability, doesn't he remember? Changi only remembers that incident from yesterday and feels a bit dizzy. He vomits on the way back to his house. Emja hands him some tissues, and Changi thanks her, but then he changes the subject. He asks if Guango died yesterday. Emja answers that yes, it's true. Isn't that good? Changji is speechless. Without Lua and Guango, that gang of idiots is finished. Now no one will bother Changi. My daughter feels no remorse for killing both of them, and Changi can see it in her smile. He asks her not to cause more deaths. My daughter replies that she didn't intend to kill them. She gave them a chance, but they caused their own deaths by not choosing their own fate correctly. In the end, Guango received a punishment, and it reminded her of her father. At that moment, her father was a police officer who was killed by bad people. People who live without reflecting, following their desires, and who fear no punishment at all. If only they had received proper punishment earlier, Lua wouldn't have grown up that way. Sojin mentions that Lua became like that because, as her father, he wasn't there for her. How many people like that are there in this city? People who hold grudges for their children? Harry says that among them must be the one who killed his daughter. He will definitely find those scum who killed his daughter, and Lua will search for all the bad people in this world to kill them. Both of them had different goals. On the school roof, someone asks if that was Gun-woo. Another comments that Lua stopped coming, and now Gun-woo is gone. Gi, Han and Yu-ra were also absent today. A voice hesitates to say something. Nearby, a student suggests that maybe it's good that he left. Another student agrees, wishing the rest of them would leave too. The mood at school is better now, they say. On her cell phone, Min-ah watches Polyhula, a public investigator. She is in front of the house of a convicted criminal. Polly explains that he angered the entire nation 10 years ago. The investigator shouts about the public's right to know what the police are doing. Suddenly, Min-ah realizes something. Chan-hee appears behind her and asks if Min-ah will go there. He mentions that the victim died 2 years later due to the trauma. Since it was after the trial, the criminal did not receive any more punishment. Chan-hee calls for Min-ah. Min-ah covers her ears and thinks to herself, how unfair this is. Ignoring the call, Min-ah leaves the room in a hurry. Running after her, Chan-hee asks Min-ah to stop doing that. The girl turns around abruptly, questioning what that could be. She asks, who benefited the most from that? Why shouldn't others enjoy it too? Min-ah insinuates that maybe Chan-hee wants everything just for himself. Desperately, the boy stammers in denial about people. Chan-hee warns her that she could get in trouble if they find out. Min-ah just repeats his words with disdain. Shrugging her shoulders, the girl simply turns her back and keeps walking. The boy still tries to call her, but to no avail. Distracted, he ends up bumping into a classmate who calls him weird. The girls accuse him of trying to enter the girls' bathroom. Chan-hee apologizes, saying he got confused. Totally embarrassed, he doesn't know what to do now. He seems completely lost at the moment. At that moment, Min-ah appears, adjusting her coat near the door. With a smile, she comments that that guy was at home. Chan-hee is shocked, not understanding what she means. Another student shouts for them to check YouTube. The criminal in the news fell and was caught live. They say he jumped from his own house. The live broadcast shows Polyhula narrating the man's fall. She screams that her Polyhula channel caught it all on camera. Polly questions if it was a guilty conscience that made him take his own life. The full video is for subscribers only. Turning to Min-ah, the boy starts to stutter about what just happened. The girl with glasses responds indifferently. She claims she was just in the bathroom the whole time. The scene changes to a morgue showing Hwang Gun-woo, 17 years old. A doctor explains that the cause of the end was nerve damage from a fracture in the neck. However, he adds a caveat. Detective Cho asks what the problem is. The fracture is consistent with a fall from a height, but the boy was found on a rooftop. Cho reflects that there are no tall buildings nearby. Noticing the presence of others, the detective asks if they are from the Il-hai group. A woman confirms that she is from the secretary's office. He then asks if this has anything to do with the little princess. There was a noise about that incident on the beach, right? The secretary replies that she is just an employee and wouldn't know. With a sharp look, she suggests that it would be better if Cho remained a simple detective too. The detective laughs, saying that he would do that if he could, but he knew the boy lying there very well. That's why he is very curious. Cho wonders how close the brother of the biggest boss in the city is to the princess of the Ilhai group. "It seems like you know a lot, huh?" comments the secretary. "Not much," replies Cho, claiming to be just a simple detective. A police officer rushes in calling for Inspector Cho Hung-yeon. The victim's family has arrived. At that moment, a man in a white suit and sunglasses enters the room. The doctor identifies him as Hwang Gun-seong. With a somber expression, he mutters, "My little brother." His eyes fix on the covered body on the stretcher. The sight makes him lose control and start screaming. He shouts his brother Gunwoo's name in fury. The detective confirms his identity with the police officer, who answers yes. Gun-seong yells that he's going to finish them off. The secretary asks his superior if he's done. The man in the suit asks who that is. The girl explains that Hwang Gun-seong is Gunwoo's brother. Gun-seong continues to boil with anger. He turns to the two, asking who they are. Gun-seong demands to know why they are circling his brother. The man in the suit looks at him with calculating calm, irritated. Gun-seong asks what the other is looking at. Without warning, he punches the man in the face. Detective Cho shouts his name, trying to intervene. The man's glasses fall off as he calls for the detective. Cho holds him back, asking him to calm down for now. Reminds him that he needs to take care of his brother's farewell. Gun-seong growls, still furious but restrained. He lets out a scream of pure frustration and pain. The detective tells the man in the suit to leave if he is done, asks him to remember that they helped calm things down. The superior agrees with a subtle nod. He and the secretary enter the elevator and the doors close. Inside the elevator, the man comments something strange. Hwang Gun-seong didn't ask how his brother left. The secretary looks surprised and asks if they should leave him alone. With a determined look, he says, "Let's start with that bastard." We return to Mina and Chan-hee on the busy street. Chan-hee chases her, asking for a second to talk. He insists that this isn't right. Mina turns around and asks what isn't right. She wants to know what he's worried about. "You think he should live comfortably and leave in peace?" she asks. "Take this human rights talk to the victims." The boy screams that it's not like that. "You took a life. How can you be okay with this? If you keep going like this, you'll unexpectedly..." Mina grabs him by the collar. She stares at him closely and asks, What are you saying, I'm the villain?" Chan-hee tries to explain herself by stuttering her name. With a sinister smile, she asks, "Do you want me to show you?" "The villain you're talking about." A truck speeds down the street. In the blink of an eye, something strange happens. Chan-hee's eyes widen in surprise. He finds himself being held by Mina, floating above the city. The boy screams in terror at the height. Mina smiles and says he doesn't know anything. She continues talking about me as she lets go of his hand. Chan-hee begins to fall toward the ground below. Luckily, his fall is cushioned by some vegetation. He cries in despair at the fright and the situation. Min-ah appears next to him, asking him to calm down. She says he won't leave so he can pull himself together. She confesses to having been scared the first time she was teleported up confused. Chan-hee asks where they are. Min-ah tells him to look around. The boy's eyes widen when he sees where they really ended up. At the top of a cliff, Min-ah asks Chan-hee if the view isn't nice. Ever since she gained her ability, Min-ah comments that she's been looking for views like this a lot. Chan-hee seems surprised. A sign indicates that the area is restricted to climbing because it's too steep. Smiling, the girl says she doesn't care about the sign. The boy is amazed by the landscape ahead. Chan-hee comments on how the view from there is totally different from that of an observatory. Placing her hands on his shoulders, Mina asks if it can be compared to seeing through glass. The girl with glasses seems thoughtful for a moment. Yoon Chan-hee seems to think about what it would be like to see this view every day. Mina promises to take him more often if he keeps it a secret. Chan-hee asks excitedly if he's serious. Laughing, the boy thinks that even if he told her, no one would believe him and they would think he was crazy. Suddenly, Mina gets very close, scaring the boy. With a serious look, She asks if he's going to go around telling everyone. Chan-hee quickly denies it. The girl then pinches her friend's cheek, reaching out her hand. Mina asks him to hold on tight elsewhere. A man in a white suit observes a body. He mentions that the report will come out tomorrow, and the body will be released. His companion suggests that it will be for the funeral. Hwang Geun-seong immediately denies it. Determined, he states that there will be no funeral until they catch whoever took his brother's life. Detective Joe reprimands Hwang Geun-seong for saying dangerous things. He reminds him that it has not yet been considered a criminal act. Geun-seong receives a call and asks how it went. On the other end, they inform him that they have found a clue. Detective Joe seems surprised by the sudden change. He argues that it could have just been an accident. He asks Geun-seong not to make things worse. Behind the sunglasses, a furious look is thrown. Without warning, Geun-seong grabs Detective Joe's collar. Geun-seong yells at him to play dumb. That's what he does best. He reveals that he gives him money for this. Telling his men to leave, Geun-seong leaves the place. We see a building while the name Hwang Geun-seong is mentioned. Inside a car, a woman analyzes information about Geun-seong on her cell phone. He is CEO and chief developer. The girl concludes that he is basically a bandit. She questions why someone like that is connected to Lua, and if she chose the wrong friends. The man with the binoculars answers his senpai that it is not that simple. Apparently, Lua is the key to Hwang Geun-seong's coin business. Insinuating the support of the Ilhai group attracted a lot of people. They were about to go public, but Lua passed him by. The strange thing is that only the rumor of liquidation spread, and Lua did not gain anything. Anyway, Geun-seong is furious with her now. Suddenly, the man seems to spot something important. Through the scope, he spots Geun-seong and his men getting into a yellow car. He instructs the driver to follow him discreetly. They want to find out how Geun-seong plans to vent his anger. With a flash, Mina teleports with Chan-hee to a couch in an abandoned building. Chan-hee asks, confused, where they are. Mina replies that it is their secret base. It is an abandoned building that no one touches. The place was built on the side of a mountain, so no one comes here. The boy is surprised to see a wall full of photos. Mina explains that they are photos of places she has been. Memorizing the images makes things easier for her. Chan-hee thinks it is amazing. Excited, he asks if she can just go to the United States or Europe. The girl answers that she hasn't left Korea yet. There is a limit to consecutive teleports, too. Her record in a single jump was to the West Coast. After that, she felt completely exhausted. Chan-hee notices her friend looking a little tired. She admits that even this distance secretly consumes a lot of energy. She asks him to wait a second. In another flash, Mina disappears, leaving Chan-hee alone, and surprised alone in the room, the boy begins to worry. Believing that the doors would be locked, he tries one. To his relief, she opens it. Looking outside, he realizes the danger. The building is not only abandoned, it seems about to collapse. Sitting on the floor and scared, he calls out to Min-ah, asking her to come back. His expression shows how apprehensive he is. A sudden glow catches his attention. Min-ah returns carrying some boxes. She asks if he waited long. Upon opening a box, Chan-hee gets super excited. They are the popular Starbite donuts. Smiling, Min-ah says that it is a small joy he gets with his skill. No matter how famous the store is, she gets there in no time. She comments that eating there seems a little strange. Chan-hee agrees a little awkwardly. Back on the cliff watching the sunset, Mina calls out to Chan-hee. Mina suggests that it would be amazing to open a cafe there. Chan-hee agrees, saying that it would be a success with that view. She says that he may not believe it, but she is actually a romantic. Chan-hee is surprised by the confession. Min-ah continues saying that the world is much more beautiful than one imagines. If she had lived an ordinary life down there, she would never have known this joy. With a smile, she asks Chan-hee if she still seems like a monster to him. The boy seems to ponder her question a little, blushing. Chan-hee suggests that maybe she should just enjoy the moment. She questions why suffer with such incredible power. He thoughtfully repeats about her incredible power. Mina reveals that she still has no idea how she got the power. She has never consumed anything strange or been near radiation. She wonders what the reason could be then. Turning to him, Mina says that thanks to him she discovered why she has this power. Chan-hee reacts, surprised. She begins to explain that saving him 3 times was part of finding this reason. Chan-hee listens attentively, standing, and with a determined look, Mina declares that this is her duty. The statement leaves Chan-hee completely shocked. Grabbing her shoulders, Chan-hee asks how taking lives can be a duty. He warns her that something terrible is going to happen. With a slight smile, Mina asks if he is afraid that she will be caught. Hugging her, Chan-hee says that is not the problem. As a human being, he cannot. With tears in his eyes, he shouts that he cannot ignore that the person who saved him is destroying himself. Both are breathless with the intensity of the moment. Mina comments that he is ridiculously kind. A slight smile appears on her face as she thinks she knew. With a sincere smile, the girl concludes that it was the right decision to have saved him, patting the boy on the shoulder. The girl gives in, saying, "It's okay," since he's talking like that, smiling. The girl promises, "I won't take lives." The boy's face lights up with relief and happiness. He calls out, "Mina!" The boy still asks if she's sure. The girl answers bluntly, changing scenes. We see a street at night from inside a car. A voice asks if that is really the place inside the car. We see Kang Gi-han all bruised. He confirms that he is almost certain that is where Yoon Chan-hee lives. One of the henchmen grabs him, shouting for him to do it right. If they don't find Yoon Chan-hee, Gi-han is done for. The boy trembles with fear. Looking desperately around, suddenly, Kang Gi-han sees the duo on the other side of the street. Gi-han points excitedly at the target. It is Yoon Chan-hee. The informant assures that there is no doubt. It is him. The boy claims that shortly before Gun-woo passed away, he was alone with that boy, Yoon Chan-hee. The man in the front seat asks who the girl with Chan-hee is. Kang Gi-han is confused. But the man says, whatever. The head of the operation orders them to bring the two to the car. Meanwhile, Chan-hee and Mina remain distracted. The duo finally notices Kang Gi-han across the street, visibly hurt. Chan-hee calls out to him. "Gi-han?" Kang Gi-han's condition is pitiful, his face covered in bandages. The girl also asks what happened to Kang Gi-han. He doesn't answer. He just stares at Chan-hee. Kang Gi-han finally speaks, pointing at Yoon Chan-hee. He ended Gun-woo, didn't he? The duo is stunned by the accusation. Chan-hee asks what nonsense Gi-han is talking, all hurt like that. Screaming, the boy tells Kang Mina to leave. He accuses Yoon Chan-hee of being the one to blame for Gun-woo's departure and says he was almost erased with it. Shocked, Chan-hee denies the accusations. He retorts by saying that he was the one who almost went to a better place. Pointing the finger, the boy blames Chan-hee. She screams that if it weren't for him, none of this would have happened on the roof. With an expression of despair, Chan-hee finds the accusation ridiculous. The girl with glasses approaches and can't stand to hear it anymore. She calls the injured boy trash. Irritated, the boy asks if he should throw her out too. His expression is one of surprise and anger. With a cold look, the girl mentions the name Rua. Suddenly, a hand activates a shock device. A brute appears behind the two students with the taser. Both are paralyzed with fright. The big guy holds the device on the protagonist who receives the shock. She calls out to him in surprise, but he is already falling. During the night, a car approaches an isolated building. Some people wait outside. A group of henchmen welcomes the boss who has just arrived. They inform him that the requested young people are upstairs. Wearing sunglasses, the boss orders maximum security on site. His men promptly obey. In the darkness, only muffled sounds can be heard. One of the henchmen notices that the captive is waking up. The other tells him to leave him alone for now. She wakes up disoriented with a very sore head. He tries to understand what happened. Thugs surround the girl tied to a chair. One tells him that the boss has arrived and orders them to bring the other boy tied and gagged. The girl Chan-hee wonders where she is. She seems worried about the boy named Yoon. Still gagged, Chan-hee worries about what happened to Yoon fallen on the floor. Yoon is badly hurt. A thug informs him that he vehemently denies the accusation. The boss looks imposingly at Yoon, who has fallen at his feet. Removing his glasses, the boss questions Yoon's denial. The boss addresses the boy, now called Gihan, and asks what happened at that moment. Hearing the name, the girl, Chan-hee, reacts. She thinks about Kong Gihan. The man claims to know his brother Gyunwoo well. He admits that he could be an idiot. However, he would never lose to a weakling like Gihan, who has fallen there. A thug lifts Gihan up, demanding an immediate answer. The boy sniffs in fear. Desperate Gihan shouts that it was him. Gihan accuses the girl Chan-hee directly. He claims that she was the last person with Gunwoo and knocked him out. The girl struggles, trying to deny it muffledly. She thinks how Gihan is a wretch. Unexpectedly, Chan-hee confesses through the gag that it was her. A hand grabs Gihan's hair tightly. The boss suspends Gihan by the hair. He asks if the boy was present when his brother passed away. The boss's gaze is cold and calculating as he waits for the answer. Frightened, Gihan stutters, confirming that he was. With a subtle smile, the boss asks Gihan to tell honestly. He says he wants to know the truth as Gyunwoo's brother Gihan remains silent, hesitantly sweating cold. Without warning, the boss lands a powerful caress on Gihan's belly. Gihan feels the impact hard, spitting out some broth tied up. Chan-hee thinks she can't use her ability. Her head seems to buzz non-stop. The boss grabs Gihan again, who begs him to stop. Another strong caress is given to Gihan. Chan-hee reacts worriedly. Seeing the scene, Chan-hee begs in a muffled voice for them to stop. The boss gives Gihan another caress, calling him a wretch. He asks if he's joking. Furious, the boss shouts that his brother left right in front of Gihan's eyes. Another powerful caress is given. The boss demands to know why Gihan has no answers. Gihan's face receives a violent impact, spreading more red broth. The boss orders the girl's blindfold to be removed. Gihan is on the floor, unconscious. Chan-hee's eyes reveal themselves as the blindfold is removed. She focuses on Gihan on the floor covered in red broth. Gihan's condition is pitiful, completely injured. Chan-hee, tied to the chair, watches Gihan lying and injured on the floor. A close-up shows Gihan's punished face. Chan-hee's gaze is intense, even with the gag. One of the henchmen informs the boss that the girl knows where Rua is. The boss then turns to Chan-hee. Chan-hee gasps and thinks the man is asking about his brother. With a dark expression, the boss apologizes. The boss holds the girl's face, repeating the apology. He calls her name Chan-hee. Crouching down in front of her, the boss asks what she is apologizing for. The boss's face up close shows his intensity and threat. Chan-hee begins to remember the incident in the past. She regrets not having finished everyone on the roof. She thinks that everything happened because of her hesitation. The boss's expression changes to shock and fury upon hearing the confession. The boss takes out his anger by striking her. Chan-hee's eyes glow brightly, suggesting an activation of power. The boy is suddenly shocked, even tied up. Chan-hee goes through the man's body. Everyone, including the henchman and Gihan, is stunned by the scene. The boss is thrown back by the impact, breaking the chair in the process. The scene is pure chaos with the boss flying through the air. Chan-hee lands on the ground, still with the ropes but free from the broken chair. The extra screams, feeling the impact of the unexpected blow. The henchmen run to help the fallen boss. They ask if he is okay without understanding anything. Gihan watches the scene completely shocked and confused. The girl, Chan-hee, is kneeling on the floor with her head untied. Chan-hee's gaze is now cold and determined. Downstairs, other henchmen hear a loud noise. One asks his colleague if he heard the explosion. The other confirms. The two men exchange suspicious glances at the noise. At that moment, a man and a woman arrive at the entrance. The man announces that they have come to see CEO Hwang Gyun-song. With a scar on his face, the man asks if the CEO is inside. With full force, a man is hit in the face. In an alley, a man in a suit knocks down an attacker and other gang members approach. The newcomer warns that he knows about the presence of Hwang Gyun-song and only wants to talk. He then asks which floor the target is on. One of the thugs calls him irrational and asks if he would cooperate in such a situation. Surrounded by the aggressors, the man is asked who he is. He only repeats his question about Hwang Gyun-song and warns them to answer. One of the thugs seems apprehensive about the unfolding situation. Suddenly, a blonde girl appears and scolds the man. She says that no one would answer like that, and that's why she always asks the questions. With a smile, the young woman asks for everyone's attention and says they are there to talk. Suddenly, one of the aggressors tries to hit her from behind, but she notices. The thug still mocks her, asking her to speak louder. With a sinister smile, he pulls out some blades and asks where he should hit her. However, the aggressor is surprised by something unexpected. The object he was holding is now stuck in his own forehead, leaving another thug shocked. He realizes too late that he was hit by his own sharp object. The girl, with her hand extended, says that he scared her. Wasting no time, another thug furiously charges at the girl. The girl skillfully dodges the man's strike, who shouts in anger. Quickly, she grabs the attacker's arm mid-movement. With a fluid motion, the young woman throws him forcefully to the ground. She then picks up the sharp object from the fallen thug's hand. The man screams in pain from the violent impact of the fall. The blonde questions him about his rude words and tells him to keep talking. While the man mutters something, the girl says she can't hear him. The young woman then remembers that she should be the one asking the question instead of acting like a bully in front of her superior. She places the object in the thug's mouth and demands an answer so he doesn't embarrass her anymore. Suddenly, one of the aggressors jumps from above to attack the girl by surprise. Sensing the danger, the man in the suit acts quickly and pushes the girl. He protects her with his body and looks at her, concerned about the situation. Around them, several thugs are on the ground and a lot of broth is scattered on the floor. The man in the suit seems surprised by something and looks up. Two more aggressors are seen falling from above toward the group. His face shows shock at the unbelievable scene unfolding. He shields himself as the bodies hit the ground with full force. The place now has more injured aggressors, and the man wonders what is happening. He questions what could be going on upstairs to cause this. Meanwhile, upstairs, a young man with blue hair looks very frightened. He is cornered by several bullies armed with baseball bats. The leader of the group, wearing a mask, wonders what the noise was and where the other accomplices went. He notices that the young student seems to have done something strange, like a different blink. The boy's eyes glow with a mysterious energy, and he mutters something. Instantly, one of the aggressors is thrown far away by the student's power. Another bully also flies through the air, leaving the leader perplexed at the sight. The masked man shouts without understanding what is happening as the young man kneels down, exhausted. The blue-haired boy seems to feel pain and a strong dizziness after using his power. With a nosebleed, he complains that his head feels like it's going to explode from pain. He wonders if he used his ability too much, since he usually can handle more times without rest. Then he sees Mina. His gaze fills with concern and determination upon seeing his friend. On the floor, a boy named Chan-hee is badly hurt, and the student shouts his name desperately. The young man runs to Chan-hee and asks if he's okay and can get up. Chan-hee replies that he doesn't know. And again, the cycle of violence begins with a brutal blow to someone's face. Looking at his injured friend, the young man panics at the amount of broth and says they need to get to a hospital quickly. While holding Chan-hee, he thinks he doesn't know any nearby hospital, but decides to get out of there and use his teleportation until he finds one. With Chan-hee on his back, he assures him that he's going to save him, but a tattooed man approaches from behind with bad intentions. Without warning, the aggressor strikes. A powerful blow hits the face of the blue-haired boy. The student feels the impact, and more broth runs down from his head as his eyes show shock. Even on the ground, the tattooed man continues to assault the young man with brutality. Surprised, the thug asks what that little punk did to him because he feels something strange. Lying on the ground, the blue-haired boy groans in pain, feeling the injuries. He realizes that his body isn't moving and despair takes over his expression. The tattooed man considers the possibility of a head injury in the boy and thinks he needs to use his abilities. Grabbing the student's arm and holding a bat, he says he has a question before the boy sleeps forever. The aggressor asks if it's true what the young man said about his brother and if he really took care of the relative. The blue-haired boy remains on the ground, seeming too weak to react. With a serious expression, the tattooed man insists on the question about his brother. Tears run down the student's face and the thug mocks, asking if he cried faster than expected. The tattooed man's eyes shine with intense fury, and he prepares to attack. He raises the bat over the fallen boy and declares he's going to proceed with the attack. At that moment, the student focuses his thoughts and tries to activate his special ability. With a desperate face, he mentally begs for his power to work. The boy's eyes shine with an intense red light, indicating that his ability has been activated. However, the attacker's bat comes down violently, hitting Chan-hee, who was on top of his friend. The impact is direct to Chan-hee's head, and a lot of broth spreads around the place. Desperate, the blue-haired boy screams his friend's name with all his strength. With his last strength, Chan-hee asks his friend to run and wonders why that is happening. Before losing consciousness, he murmurs for his friend to get out of there and save himself. Chan-hee lies motionless on the ground with a large amount of broth around him. The student looks at his friend with an expression of pure devastation and sadness. Unable to hold back the pain, tears stream from his eyes as he looks at Chan-hee. A strange light seems to emanate from Chan-hee's fallen body. The tattooed man is surprised because his arm, which was holding the bat, begins to glow. Driven by anger and pain, the blue-haired boy jumps toward the attacker. The thug tries to hit him with the bat, but the student moves with surprising speed. With a scream of fury, the boy charges for the final attack. He delivers a powerful blow to the tattooed man, who feels the impact of the energy. After the attack, the young man feels a sharp pain and his body seems to give in. He falls to the ground, exhausted and wounded after using all his energy. The tattooed man is also on the ground, and another thug approaches, asking what happened and mentioning the others who were attacked. The thug informs the boss about the other bodies that are scattered around the place. The tattooed leader looks up and tells the subordinate to wait a moment. He realizes that the blue-haired boy, although badly injured, is still alive. With a cruel smile, the tattooed man says that if they melt the boy alive, it'll spill broth everywhere. The student is unconscious and a kind of energy bandage forms on his head. Suddenly, the tattooed man is thrown far away by an invisible force. He hits the ground violently while the young man remains unconscious. Lying down, the blue-haired boy opens his eyes, surprised by something that happened. The man in the suit who was on the lower floor appears and approaches the student. With a worried expression, he kneels and asks the young man if he's okay. Without hesitation, the man in the suit stands up and lands a powerful kick to the face of the tattooed thug. The attacker falls defeated and mutters that there's something before fainting. The man in the suit then turns his attention back to the student who is lying on the ground. The blue-haired boy remains on the ground with a lot of broth running down his head. Worried, the man in the suit approaches and asks again if the boy is okay. He observes the student and asks if he can get up from that position. The boy keeps his eyes closed and seems too weak to answer. In a flashback, we see the blue-haired boy with glasses and a curious expression. Back in the present, the man in the suit asks why the boy was in that dangerous place and says he'll take him to the hospital. The student murmurs something almost inaudible while still lying down and injured. We see a red-haired girl lying on a hospital bed with several stitch marks on her body. The man in the suit's eyes widen in shock as he realizes something. The tattooed thug he thought was defeated stands up screaming and charges to attack. With a quick movement, the man in the suit dodges the attacker's punch. He counterattacks and knocks the thug down with a precise blow. The tattooed man hits the ground hard, and the impact is visible. The man in the suit looks at the fallen aggressor and seems surprised by his endurance. Getting up with difficulty, the thug grabs his neck, and the man in the suit comments that he thought he had broken it. He notices the opponent's physique is more robust than expected. With a confident smile, the man in the suit says it'll be satisfying to defeat him after so long. The tattooed thug recognizes him and asks if he's not the one who was hiding in the hospital, calling him a fool. He asks the man in the suit to wait because he wants to ask something about his brother's death. The man in the suit's eyes show a growing fury at the mention. Without giving a chance to talk, he advances and attacks the thug with a sequence of strikes. The tattooed man tries to fight back, but is hit directly by a powerful punch. The man in the suit comments that the thug was pretending to talk just to launch a surprise attack and that a bully remains a bully. The aggressor screams in pain and prepares a desperate counterattack. He throws a punch, but the man in the suit blocks it with ease. The thug is surprised by his opponent's strength and skill. The man in the suit admits that the thug's punch is decent, but he's still a bully for using it to hurt girls. With a precise blow, he hits the thug's chin, and the man feels the impact. Then he sweeps the thug's legs, knocking him down. The man in the suit finishes with a strong strike to the face of the fallen thug. The aggressor is stunned by the sequence of blows, and the man in the suit asks what's wrong and if it's his first time getting beat up. With an air of superiority, the man in the suit observes the injured thug. The tattooed man groans in pain and seems nearly unconscious. Angry, the thug tries one last attack, calling the man in the suit an imbecile. The man dodges easily and prepares a new blow. He grabs the attacker's arm and twists it, leaving him in a vulnerable position. With a swift move, he lands a powerful hit on the thug. The tattooed man screams in pain from the impact. The man in the suit looks at him and tells him to stop whining like a baby. He delivers a final blow to the thug's head, who falls unconscious. The attacker is completely defeated and motionless on the ground. With a serious expression, the man in the suit tells the thug not to die yet because he has a lot to ask. The blonde girl arrives, running up the stairs, calling for her superior. She informs him that she contacted the company and they'll handle the site cleanup. The man in the suit picks up the blue-haired boy in his arms, and the girl says she also called for medical personnel. Carrying the student, he observes the other injured people, and the girl comments that there are many serious injuries. The blue-haired boy seems to be waking up and sighs faintly. The man in the suit tries to wake him and asks his name. With difficulty, the boy manages to say his name is Kang Mina and asks who he is. The man in the suit asks if he's conscious and introduces himself. He identifies himself as a police officer and assures him he'll take him to the hospital immediately, asking him to stay awake. Still in the officer's arms, Kang Mina asks, surprised, if he's really a cop. From somewhere distant, a boy in a school uniform screams desperately. He calls out for Mina, showing great concern and fear. Kang Mina tries to say something, but her voice comes out weak and hesitant. With tears in her eyes, she looks at the officer and asks if he is her father. The man looks at her with a confused and surprised expression at the unexpected question. In a memory, we see the red-haired girl injured and with tears streaming down her face. She seems to agree with something. The officer hugs Kang Mina and says that Daddy will save her. They arrive at Ilhai University Hospital, a large and modern building. A heart monitor beeps, showing a patient's vital signs. Kang Mina is lying in a hospital bed with several bandages and looking weak. Her eyes are half open, and she seems to be resting after the trauma. Suddenly, a woman enters the hospital room with a shocked expression. The woman approaches the bed, calling for Mina and thanking her for being awake. Kang Mina wakes up, a little confused, and asks if that woman is her mother. Her mother tells Mina to stay lying down and explains that the doctor said she hit her head badly and needs complete rest. Worried, the mother asks what the hell happened to her daughter. She hugs Mina and says she was also very afraid of losing her. Mina replies that she's okay. Kang Mina then asks what happened to her and how she got there. Her face shows confusion and slight amnesia about recent events. Suddenly, she remembers Chan-hee and urgently asks her mother about him. The mother responds that she doesn't know who that is. Desperate, Kang Mina screams Chan-hee's name and explains that he was the boy who was with her. The police officer enters the room and informs her that Chan-hee is in the intensive care unit. Kang Mina looks at the officer with a shocked expression and deep concern for her friend's condition. The man in the suit looks at her with a serious and somewhat enigmatic expression.